Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Tin Barn. This is Pragmatic Lee, of course. Got another little project for you today, and hopefully I have the sound worked out. I realized in my last series on the power drawbar, after it was already recorded and I started editing, that the windshield was gone off of the other microphone I was using. So I've switched it out. I had a whole lot of breathing noise in the series of videos, and I apologize for that. But hopefully this is going to sound a whole lot better today. Our project today is going to involve 5C collets. The inspiration for this project came from a YouTube friend, Facebook friend, and he's got a good channel. His name is Phil Desjardins. Phil, I'm sorry, I probably crucified your last name, but it's very easy to find his channel on YouTube. It's Phil's Projects. He's from Canada, and he was working on a project the other day for the Keith Fenner's What's in Your Box toolbox giveaway, working on some hammerheads. And I saw him pull up an item that, like so many things, you don't realize you need something like that until you see and find out it actually exists. But what he had was a work stop for a 5C collet. If you're familiar with 5C collets, you know the back of the collet is threaded in here. And what the work stop does, and what we're going to build today, is a little piece that will thread into here, have a hex on it to tighten it down or loosen it if it gets too tight. It'll be threaded on the inside. I'm going to be using a 3/8 by 24 threaded rod that will work as a stop and be able to adjust in and out. Again, this the inspiration for this, I asked Phil after I saw it on his channel. I asked him to send me some pictures of it, and he actually went over and above and made a drawing of it. Phil's email is on his channel. My email is at the beginning, introduction of all my channels. If you'd like a copy of this, I'm sure he'll be more than happy for me to share it with you, or for himself to share it with you. But what I'm going to start out first with, according to his drawing, our stop piece should be 4.6 inches long. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to cut that off. I'm also going to put a nut on the end of it just to use as a bumper. We're going to pin this. I have some small pins. I believe I got a 5/64 by a 1/2 inch spring pin. So I'm going to the saw now. Going to cut this off at 4.6 inches. Then we'll come back to the mill and set this up and drill this for a spring pin. I have the piece of the threaded rod. Again, this is 3/8 by 24. I've got it mounted in a 3/8 collet now, and in the mill vise. And this may very well be the smallest hole I've ever tried to drill on this mill. So I'm going to try to take it real easy and hopefully not break anything. All right, that was a good little starter hole. All right, I will consider that my first accomplishment today. Seems like everything else I've touched today has kind of fell to pieces. All right, I'm going to ease this out to the side some, and while it's right there in the vise, see if we can get our pin in. May have to put just a little bit of a counterbore in that just to get that pin started. Not a good place for fat fingers. Alright, while that's right there and mounted in the collet block, I'm going to carry this over to the mill, or I'm sorry, to the lathe, and face off this end right here and round those, and then we'll be ready to start on the real meat of this project. Alright, I've got our collet block just like come out of the vise over there. I've got it in the 3-jaw right now. That's why I chose the Hex one to mount this in. So we're going to face off the end of this, and then just kind of we may take this all the way down the round. We'll see. Alright, I'm pleased with that. Now let's knock this hex off a little bit. I'm taking very, very light cuts on this just simply because I don't want to twist the piece in the collet. It is a 3/8 collet, but of course threaded rod's going to be a little bit under 3/8. Alright, let's get a little more. One more pass maybe. Alright, I'm pleased with that. Now we'll just set this piece off to the side and come back to it after we get our main piece built. We'll ease that outside edge just a little bit. Alright, I'm going to get our next piece set up in the lathe. Alright, we're going to make our piece for our collet stop out of some 4140, and this might be, other than aluminum, this might be one of the first times I've actually known what steel I'm working with. This was I had to order some material the other day from McMaster Car, and so I knew this project was coming up, and so I bought a little piece of 4140. It's 1 1/8 inches, 1.125. So we're going to start out first. We're going to face in, and then we're going to drill and tap it for the piece we made just a second ago. Here's what, after removing from the chuck, or from the collet holder and collet, this will be the work stop that will thread through this and be adjustable in and out. So we'll again face this piece off. It's got a pretty good end on it already. Alright, I believe I need to tighten my carriage down. I think it's pushing back just a little bit there. And let me give the tool holder just a bit more of an angle for this facing. Alright, I want to drill that. This is going to be tapped 3/8 24. And a 3/8 24 calls for, let's look on my chart, letter Q bit, which is 0.332. I do not have a Q bit. I have a 21/64, which is 3281, about 4 thousandths difference. I believe that'll be okay for what for cutting threads in this for simply a work stop. Let me get a center drill in, and I'm going to need to unlock the carriage and get it out of the way. And again, I'm drilling this with a 21/64 bit. Alright, I'm going to drill that at least 1.5 inches deep. Our finished piece is only going to be about 0.850, but the tap I have is not a bottoming tap, it's a tapered tap for starting threads. I've got the DRO set on the tailstock, so I should be able to tell when I get reasonably close. I believe I just realized my drill bit was sliding in a little bit. So alright, that's 1.5 inches now. Let me get my tap out and tapping wrench get set up for that, and I'll be right back. Okay, what I was trying to get set up over here, this is a brand new tap. One of the pieces I had to order the other day from McMaster Car. 3/8/24 tap, and it does not have the indentation in the back. I was getting my tap guide out and saw that, and as I'm aware that you can turn tap guide around, but the hole in mine is nowhere near as big as that, and it was just riding on it. So I'm not going to power tap, but I am going to try starting this with it in the chuck and just letting the chuck, the tailstock ride freely here. I don't like that sticking right there, my hand sliding over it. So let's see if that'll pull that in. I definitely want it to start straight. And it looks like it's cutting fine. Alright guys, I'm going to continue this process. I just want to take it slow. Don't want to break that tap, but I'll bring you back when I get that tapped and we get ready to start threading the outside of this. Alright, I have the piece tapped now. We're going to want to thread this 1/2 inch down, so I'm going to set the DRO, zero the DRO there. I need to zero out the correct axis. Now we'll go 1/2 inch in. I'm pushing the carriage stop as I go. Alright, that's 1/2 inch. I'll lock the carriage stock down. And then just test that with the DRO. Use the micro adjust on it. 5 5/5, 505. So this is starting out as 1.8 inches, but I'm still going to get a just a little cleanup pass on there to be sure it's round. Alright, I will mic that piece now. We want to cut this down for the thread inside, for the inside of the collet. We need to turn this down to 1.041. Alright, now zero out my x-axis. and we have 1.116. 1.116, 1.041. It looks like 75 thousandths. Let me double check my math though. 1.116 minus 1.041, 75 thousandths. All right, I'm going to take 30 thousandths. Tell you what, we'll start with 25. All right, I like to mess up, folks. I had my DRO set for something else and didn't set it back, and it was set to cut off the radius instead of the diameter. So I think I just took 50 thousandths off the diameter right then. All right, so now we're at 1.070. 1.041, and that's 29 more thousandths to go. So 0 there again. And again, I want this to be right. It's going to be threaded, so I'm going to take it slow and measure several times on here. Okay. .040. I'm within a thousandths. I believe I can cut some threads on that. First off, though, we want to give it a little thread relief. Slow my RPM down, and I'm going to take about 25 thousandths off of each side, so that'll be 50 thousandths off the diameter. Now I'm going to chamfer these edges a little bit, then we'll be ready to install the change gears. Alright, I'm going to install the change gears, get this set up for threading. Okay, I have the change gears in now for 24 threads per inch. I have the compound set to 29, 30 degrees, about 29 and a half. Best I can see. I have my threading tool perpendicular to the work. I've made a scratch pass, and I'm on 24 threads per inch. So we're going to make a couple passes, and then we'll test a collet on there. I also have the dial on my cross slide set to 0, and I have the DRO x-axis set to 0 as well, kind of like wearing suspenders and a belt at the same time. So we're back to 0. I'll advance, wait for my number, engage, disengage the half nuts, back off, back up, back to 0, advance the cross slide, advance the compound, wait for the number, and I was watching a video the other day, as I do so often now, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was that gave the pointer, but I thought it was a very good pointer when it deals with with cutting threads. And they mention go ahead and back your carriage up plenty. That way if you miss your number or you engage on the wrong one or it doesn't engage, you've got plenty of time to stop everything and start over again. Just like that. I'm advancing about 5 thousandths at a time on my compound. And I measured several of my collets, and I did not get a uniform inside dimension on any of them. So I'm going to start measuring very early here, start testing very early. Alright, I only made 3 passes across there, 4 passes, and that tightens just fine. Now I'm going to randomly, well, this is a collet out of one set. I'm going to grab a collet out of another set, 2 more collets out of 2 different sets. Okay, that one doesn't want to start. And that one's just starting. So I'm just going to take a couple thousandths this time. A little brass brush. Clean them up a little bit. Now let's try this one. Not quite. A little more on that one as well. So the first collet I tried come out of a set of I believe it was every 16th from 1/16 up to 1 inch. Then a couple of oversized sets of 1 1/16, 1 1/8, and then the third one I'm trying here is from a metric set. So clean that up just a little bit. I think with a scratch pass that one may go. I'm sorry, a spring pass. Let me try a spring cut. Still isn't quite there. Compound back to 0, cross slide 2 thousandths, and wait for the number. Now I'm going to make a spring pass with this one. Still isn't quite there. Okay, that's the one that's the 1 1/8 out of the extra large set. This is the one out of the metric set. That's going all the way. Now we'll try that first one that fit several thousandths back. And it's a little loose, but it will tighten to the shoulder. So I think our threading is good. Now we just need to part the piece off. Zero out the Z. Now we want our entire piece to be 0.850. So there's 850. and then 100 thousandths for the width of the parting tool. So there's our 950 thousandths. Set the carriage stop. While that's right there, ease that edge a little bit. Alright, that piece went down in the drink, but we'll get that out, and I will go over to the mill. What we want to do is put hex on. Put a hexagon, not put a hex on it. I'm not a witch or a warlock. We'll clean that up over on the mill, and I'll show you how I plan to hold this in the mill as well to cut a hex on this. Alright, I have the piece loaded on or in the mill vise now, and I decided instead of trying to cut a hex on there, since I don't have a really good way to hold the piece, I have it in the collet, and I have a piece of material in the other side so the collet's clamped down good. But instead of trying to cut a hex, I'm going to just cut two flats on there for 7/8 wrench. Begin with, I want to zero out my Z-axis. I'm going to take about 125 thousandths off of each side. We'll get that in about 40 at the time. Turn that down. Back to the edge of our vise. If I get a chip in there. Alright, let's see if a 7/8 wrench will fit over that now. And it does. Nice fit. So that's all we need on there, a little deburring. Alright, I'm going to carry this back over to the workbench, get it set up to show you the final product. Alright, here's our completed work piece. This is the stop we made first thing. This is our threaded piece. This will go screw into a collet. Of course, it's set the bottom out. One thing you want to watch for, remember 5C collets have this keyway in there. You want to be sure that your shoulder on here is small enough that the key can go through there. So once we have that installed, then we'll put a simple lock nut on the back. Then what we want to do is get an approximate length. You don't do the micro adjust with this. This gets you close. Then lock this piece down. Lock your lock nut down. Then you would install your collet in either something like the spin indexer or collet chuck on the lathe, and then each time you do your micro adjust with the x-axis on the lathe or the mill. If this is sitting on the mill, then you would just move your table to get the exact length you wanted. Come in with the next piece. Everything's still set in place. Tighten down. Mill off the end. Where this is used for primarily or where I see the primary use for it is milling something to the same length over and over and over again, based on what size collet you got. So that completes this project. Again, a simple little work stock. I thank Phil for sending me the drawing for it. I also congratulate Phil on passing the 1,000 mark last night for subscribers on his YouTube channel. He and I were in a not really a race, but we were pretty close to one another on number of subscribers, and we both passed the 1,000 mark last night. So hope you enjoyed this little video. Hope you find it useful as well.